Hi, Ben.
Hi, Carl.
How are you?
I am doing good. It's been a lot since the last time we spoke. A lot of good things
Yeah.
and also some bad things, but mostly good things. We had a
Yeah.
baby,
Yay!
yeah, another girl, so that was really great. And then 5 days later, got attacked by Iran, and that was not so great. But we're here and we're alive to tell the story. And so far, hopefully, things are de-escalating. And here we are. Yeah,
Yeah. Uh, I would say that qualifies as a lot.
yeah, it was like low key, maybe one of the most intense weeks of my life, and not because I had a kid, just because it was my third kid. It was like, but like the overall everything of it was the gestalt was what made it so intense. It was
Yeah.
just a lot of things.
High. I can imagine very, very high highs, very, very low lows.
Yeah, it was life.
Terrified for all sorts of different reasons.
Yeah, and just
Yeah.
like to seal the deal, we just had Passover, and I spent like days cleaning my house and my kitchen and making it kosher for Passover and that whole jazz, and staying up late with the kids for the Seder, and so yeah, we're like recovering. Basically, we're in recovery mode right now, but things are going to be good hopefully. So yeah,
Nice.
that's the story. How are you, Carl?
I literally could not complain, or else I would be the most insensitive, unempathetic douche in the universe. So I'm just gonna say things are pretty great, and I'm thankful, and I'll just leave
Amazing.
it at
I'm
that.
so happy to hear that. You're a real mensch. So thanks for doing that.
I'm not sure what that means, so I'll take it as a compliment,
A
I
mensch
think.
is like the Jewish term for like a good man. Like, I don't know, a good man.
Oh, okay, okay,
Yeah.
okay. So
I
it's like
thought
a
it
good
was
thing.
ubiquitous. I thought everybody knows the word mensch. Is it not? Is it not like
Maybe
schmooze? It's not like
um.
schmear,
Sh-
like
so
like
schmear, I don't know.
smeared on a bagel. Like you smear the cream cheese on the bagel. Man, I'm so from New York. Like, I just assume everybody in America knows this stuff, but that's definitely not the case.
Yeah, I don't think the Pennsylvania Dutch in my area use schmear and mensch very
And
often.
mensch,
So yeah,
but
but
I think the
anyway,
Amish probably know the word mensch because it's a German word.
oh, probably. I mean, so really, is this the time that we announce to our listeners that we are now turning this into a Jewish vocabulary podcast, or should we get onto today's topic?
No, let's get on to today's topic, please. We'll spare the
Okay.
audience.
So, okay, so what I wanted to talk about with you is I wanted to ask you about what songs you use as your new listening environment reference mixes. Like whether it's listening to a new set of headphones, or, you're renting a car for something and you're trying
Yes.
to see what it sounds like.
Or you just got a new
Or
new car and you're messing with the stereo. Totally.
okay. Yeah, so that'd
That
be the
happened
kind of
recently.
questions.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it'd be like what are the first few songs you listen to in the car to kind of get a sense for what the car sounds like.
Yeah.
That those are the kind of mixes I'm talking about. And I know I have a
Yeah.
couple that I use, but I would love to know what yours are and
Sure.
why.
It's more than a couple. I think I have like a playlist on Spotify. We could share it with the audience. It's called Ben's
Yeah.
Favorite Mixes. And it's like it's a pretty classic combo of like stuff that I love the way it sounds. And I'm sure you have something similar. I think I'd like to talk also a little bit about why why this is such an important thing to have also. Um, but I think the songs that come to mind initially are like John Mayer Vultures, um, which was mixed by Brower.
Uh Michael Brower.
Yeah, and also from the same record, which was mixed by Manny Marroquin, is Gravity. So those are like two like very they both to my ears just sound super hi-fi and amazing, but like in very different ways. Like Vultures
Yeah.
is punchier, Gravity is like fuller and thicker and more R&B style. Um, and then just like a random mix. I mean, like some couple Radiohead songs from In Rainbows, which I just think is like just such a stellar sounding record. Some Adele songs, Daft Punk, Get Lucky, and Instant Crush, which I think both sound amazing. And some Billie Eilish songs, Zanny
Okay.
and Bury Your Friend, which all kind of sound modern and big and like huge and distorted and too big almost. Um, Fleetwood Mac, Dreams. That's a big one I listen to when I get new headphones or a car or something. That's like, okay, I just know what this one sounds like.
Hmm.
Dua Lipa, Don't Start Now, great like low end bass kind of thing. Yeah, that's like and similar things like 24K Magic by Bruno Mars. That's kind of the general picture of songs I'm listening to. There's actually a lot more, but I could send everybody a link to the 25
Yeah.
songs on it if they want to hear it.
Oh man,
So
that
that's those are
yeah.
my songs. Those are the things I listen to pretty quickly. Like I'll be listening to like Radiohead and Dreams, like probably the first two I would listen to, and then like maybe the John Mayer stuff, and then maybe Billie Eilish. Yeah, that's kind of that's how I would center myself. How about you?
Interesting. Um, well, I guess I was going to ask you a question though, and this is me slightly being a little facetious because it's
Interjecting
me
here.
interjecting, and I like to sass and harass you a little bit.
You love a good
Um,
interjection. Yeah.
I love a good interjection, but I was glad you said Billie Eilish only because everything else that you mentioned up until that point
It's like
was
same
from like
genre.
well, it was from like 2007 or earlier. Because you were like, you mentioned some John Mayer stuff, and I think Continuum was what oh
Yeah.
four or oh 05,
No, it was like
and
07.
then
It was like 07, 08 or something.
are
I can
you,
look it up. It's on Spotify.
I,
Oh six.
I, okay. Well, I know. Well,
Post
Vultures,
high school for me, so that much I know.
Vulture. Well, I know Vultures came out in oh 05. But okay. Either way, almost 20 years ago,
Shit,
right?
man, we're
Because
so dating ourselves.
we're old. We are old as hell, Ben.
And me,
Um,
I'm the one that's old as hell. You're the one that's
yeah.
hip to today's
But
music.
I'm older than you, aren't I?
I know, but you're more forward thinking than me. You're I don't know. You got your hands on the pulse, and I'm kind of like buried in nostalgia.
I'm just refusing to grow up. Maybe that's it.
Maybe
Um,
that's good though. I
got
like that about you. I mean,
little
like I
Peter
wish I had
Pan.
some of that, more of that energy. It's good. I like it.
But yeah, but then you had Dua Lipa, which is still I think a couple years old, and then the Billie Eilish. So what's my my curiosity wants me to ask you, what's the most recent song that has become part of your or not the
Mm,
most recently added, but like the most recently released song that is part of
yeah.
your go-to?
Ah, maybe Blinding Lights or 24 Karat Magic. That kind of. I guess that's still like a few years ago. Yeah, I'd say that's like the newest. I haven't heard anything that like blew my mind in the last year or two, I think. Like, I don't know, in terms of like sonic. It's also like stuff that I know so well. It's not necessarily even about like what's new for me. It's about like,
Mhm.
so if I'm centering myself on a new pair of speakers or headphones, it's really I'm trying to like know what things sound like, and I'm basing it off of records I've listened a lot to. And
Mhm.
so that's kind of, I guess, maybe the crux of why it's more old stuff than new stuff, and still stuff that's again, everything here is after the '90s. Like I'm not having like OK Computer mixes as references because that's like a completely different sound. I'm not having Beatles mixes as you know what I mean. Like that's
Mhm.
a different era. I mean, Gravity I think sounds just as good today. Like it could be mixed today and it would sound the same. In my opinion. Maybe someone would disagree with me. It has like a modern sound to it. And like Billie Eilish is maybe more modern in the sense that they just push the distortion in some of those tracks, and like the low end is bigger than, not necessarily than Gravity, but definitely than Vultures, right? Um, yeah, yeah. But anyways, these are songs that I know and I've heard so many thousands of times, probably, right? That
Mhm.
I've already heard them on so many pairs of speakers and on so many speakers that I've known so intimately that it's like, okay, cool. This is giving me a glimpse into what these speakers or headphones sound like. So I know what the spectral balance is, and I kind of know what I'm working with, as opposed to listening to something new and fresh on a new pair of speakers is probably very exciting, but it won't necessarily ground you and tell you this is how things should sound. Whereas if I listen to Vultures, which I know exactly how that kick and that snare is supposed to sound like, I, am immediately understanding what these speakers sound like, and I could listen to something else and have that as like a reference in like a frame of mind. Yeah, it was a good question.
That was a good answer. That was the answer I was expecting, and I fully understand and agree with that. I wanted to hear you explain it in your words.
Like, like I have to fight for my old school taste.
Yeah. Well, like you said, it is
But it's not really that.
the
That's not what it is.
it's familiarity. You know,
Yes.
it's familiarity and confidence in how it's going to translate, because you can tell like, oh, this is the bottom end is really thin for whatever reason in these headphones or in this room. Then when you go to work on your own stuff, you know to kind
Yes.
of expect that and not to overhype the bottom end to make it sound like your other room sounds.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think
Exactly.
so. I would say like a lot of the stuff that I have on my go-to listening in a new room sort of place.
Hmm.
It's actually kind of similar, like older stuff.
Great.
Um, or older for me anyway. Like the very first song that I think is always my go-to when I'm listening into a new space. It's "About to Die" by Dirty Projectors, and it's because of the way that everything is separated in the stereo field. It is such an amazing an amazing sonic experience to listen to, and I was first made hip to it, which is I've never said that phrase out loud. I
I
don't know
was
why I
made
felt
hip to it.
I was made hip to that song as a mixed reference by Andrew Murray when I was up at his studio when my old band was recording with him in I don't know
Yeah.
2015 or 2016, and he had just gotten his big wall of those. I forget the name of them. I'm not a gear guy, but the like cylindrical baffles, like
Yeah,
the
yeah,
big
yeah.
like
The
wall,
tack
like the
wall.
big
The tack wall.
yeah, the big tech wall. And he like had just recently gotten that. I think he got him off of like Craigslist or somewhere. But he was showing me what it sounds like in there with the monitors like inside
Mm.
the wall and everything. And he used that song as a reference. And ever since then, it's a way for me to tell how bad are the reflections in the room
Oh.
that I'm listening to. Because that like in a way that tends to have a I'm trying to think of how to say this, but I feel like when I was first getting into production and mixing, I definitely overhyped the stereo field, and or I would underhype it if I'm in a room that just had a lot of like smeary
Mm. Yeah.
reflections.
Yeah, yeah.
And this is the song that I like to use for me to get a sense of not just how tight the room is and like what the reflections are like, but also what kind of volume level I can work at that helps me to minimize the reflections. Like
Reflections.
if
Yeah.
so if it is a fairly reflective room, then I'll probably work at a slightly lower volume just so I can kind of control that. And listening to that song is a good way for me to be able to
Love
tell
it.
how clear it is, because there are some parts that are just like ridiculously wide, and then like the kick, snare, bass, and vocals, they sound like they're as close to your face as my microphone is to my face right now. It just seems like they're like he's just right here, like almost like singing directly into like the bridge of my nose is how
Wow.
it feels.
Hmm.
And if it doesn't feel that way, and I can sense it from anywhere else, I know that there's a reflection issue in that room that I need to be more conscious of when I'm making those kind of decisions.
Yeah, I love that. And I love Dirty Projectors. I haven't heard that song. I'm so old. Like I know their earlier records. Which is their like the one with what was their early record? Oh no, maybe I know a later record than that one. Dirty Project.
I think this one was on Swing Low Magellan,
Yeah,
which I don't know when that came out.
2012.
That's 2012, yeah.
Yeah, they're
And
a
I
cool
think the
band.
reason they're so weird. Energy is another really great one that I like to use as a reference mix. As like a listening kind of critical listening mix. But the reason that I like to start out with About to Die and focusing on the stereo imaging first before uh, frequency response is because I can kind of figure out what a good volume is for me to reference in the room.
Mm,
Because depending on what volume you're listening at, the bottom end's going to translate differently. The top end's going to translate differently. So I can kind of like calibrate what's a good listening volume that I should be listening to music at in this room to try to minimize the reflections, and then I can listen to you know uh, Rumble by Skrillex for the bottom end,
mm,
or listen to uh, Tame Impala for some
hmm.
some mid range or whatever that ends up being. But I think that helps me to make more accurate observations of how the room and the speakers are representing the frequency spectrum, and not, I don't know,
Yeah.
it helps me to kind of figure out like what's the room and what's not the room.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I never would have thought about that. I feel like I'm very focused on the frequency response and like what the low end feels like, what the top end feels like versus like I never would have thought about panning that much. I think like I'll hear panning, but it's not. I think you're very in tune with panning and spec and like the width of the stereo image. Like I think more than I am. Like I think you're more focused on that also while you're mixing than I am. I think that's like maybe one of your secret things or one of your passions.
Yeah, I mean, it's a passion, or honestly, it might just be kind of a byproduct of the styles of music that we work on, because
Right.
you're generally working on more, natural sounding music relative to me doing much more like weird electronic pop kind of stuff. So I feel like there's a lot more, I don't want to say there's more room to play with in the stereo field for me, but also I think it's maybe more commonly expected to have a
Yes,
lot
it's about
of
what's expected.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, most
So I
stuff
just by
I'm
nature,
mixing, I'm not if I'm panning something in a weird way, it might throw everything off. Not to
yeah,
say like I do a lot of I do LCR a lot. I mean, I do also in the not LCR, but I do a lot of just like if they're guitars, they're all the way on the left and the right. Like I'll do stuff like that all the time. But I don't overthink it. I kind of just pan things so they feel good and they make sense in the picture of the song. More than how can I surprise you maybe with how things are panned.
yeah,
Typically, you know, for the way
that makes
for the
sense.
songs I'm mixing, the genres I'm mixing.
No, totally makes sense. So here's what I was gonna suggest we try real quick.
Oh yeah.
This is I'm gonna unapologetically steal like a Pensado's place, batter's box kind of thing.
Love Pensado's paste. The OGs.
And I was gonna say, what if we go back and forth and we'll mention one characteristic of music, right? Like you could say bottom end, you could say stereo field, you could say uh, transients, whatever. And you have to pick one song that you think is best representative of what you
Ooh.
listen to when you are trying to determine what what the transients are like in that room, what or in those headphones or whatever. So I'll ask you first.
All
Okay,
right.
so let's start with bottom end. What is one song, if you could only listen to one song to determine how the bottom end translates in a room that you were in? And this is obviously very subjective to you and your, listening experience and the songs that you've heard a bajillion times, right? This is not an objective answer. This is your, Ben's subjective answer. But what is
I
the
don't
song
I don't know
for
because I
low
feel
end?
like for low end I'm listening to multiple songs. That's
Nope,
so hard.
that's not an answer, not allowed. You have to pick one.
All right, I'm gonna go with the Gravity because it's got Pino on the bass and what's his name, Jordan on the drums. Yeah, let's go with that. That's the low end. That bloom is just so big and warm and full. So yeah, should we
Okay.
switch? Should we switch off, or are we doing the whole set for me and then the whole set for you?
Let's go
Let's
back and forth.
yeah.
Let's
How
go back
about
and forth, then we can keep it together. Yeah.
all right? Cool. Bottom end for Carl Bonner. Let's go.
Rumble by Skrillex.
Rumble by Skrillex to get some of that.
It's,
What's the genre?
oh, it's not dubstep. It's
It's
like,
not.
oh no, dude, all the new stuff is so good. Oh my god, it's so good. The Quest
Send
for
it.
Fire, like you need to listen to it.
All right, dude. I'm on it. All right.
It'll be on the playlist. But the reason I use that one is because, well, the bottom end sounds so like phenomenal in that, but also there's this really stuttery sub in it that it's really easy to tell how great the bass response is in a room, because if you could hear the clarity and the punctuation of the very fast, like 16th note stuttery subs, then okay, this is a good spot.
It's a
Or if all
tight.
of a
It's a
sudden
tight
that
room.
just it's very tight, and if it all sounds kind of like a big, then not to trust the uh the clarity and the dynamics of the low end.
What was that crazy James Blake song that had that like crazy like 30-second note sub bass for like seconds at a time for like sustained amount of time? Totally
I,
blinking.
f- I forget.
Somebody's listening to this and screaming.
I know you meant like you're talking about subs, but my brain immediately That was a weird sentence. My brain did just stopped working there.
Yeah.
I know you were saying it's like 30-second note subs, but my brain started thinking about like crazy fast like double kick patterns, and I'm thinking James Blake deathcore. Like that would be, I would listen to that. I would very much listen to that.
You would listen to that.
Yeah. So top end,
Okay.
Ben.
The top end. If I must choose, I think I think there's a song called "I Miss You" featuring Julia Michaels by Clean Bandit. I don't know if you know that song.
Yeah.
It's just a
Not
great
super
pop.
well, but I do
It's
know
just a
that. Yeah.
great pop song, and if I'm remembering correctly, I think the top end and also the vocal sound is so good in that song. It's just a great little pop song. Yeah, love
Yeah.
the top end there. How about you?
Let's do "Into You" by Ariana Grande.
Oh, that is amazing top end. Ariana
Yeah.
Grande is a great call for top end vocals.
Yeah.
Not like the second to latest one, but like that record, whatever it is. I don't remember the name of that record.
Is that "Dangerous Woman"?
Yes, I think so.
I think. Yeah.
That's a
Okay.
great vocal record. Also, just like to hear what a female vocal could sound like. Love it.
It's so good. Yeah. Okay. Mid range.
I would probably do something like "Weird Fishes" by Radiohead for like the mid range, just like the way those electric guitars all kind of work together so nicely.
Okay. If I were doing upper mid range, I would say upper mid range. I would say "Paranoid Android."
Love that.
Even though that could also be used for a lot of other categories, like stereo field and dynamic range for sure. But
yeah.
I think the upper mid range for that I think is phenomenal, and then lower mid range I would say Elephant by Tame Impala,
Hmm.
or yeah, I would say something by Tame Impala. I don't know if it would be Elephant, or I might do a different one, but I already answered Elephant, so that's my final answer. No takey backsies.
Perfect.
Depth. I know this one for me, but depth. If you want to look at depth as like reverb and sense of space.
Oh yeah, I got it. Nude. Also on same record, but in Rainbows. Nude by Radiohead. That's definitely like space, ambience, depth. That is, and it's not like a typical mix for like listening to low end or top end or something, because it just doesn't make any sense. But it works so well in terms of just like how deep and how lush and you're just like in a sonic soundscape, you know. So yeah.
I
How
would
about you?
say "Ya Hey" by Vampire Weekend,
Hmm.
because I think Vampire Weekend has the most interesting use of reverb and space out of any artist. I don't say a lot of absolutes, but I would say
Is this more like the
this
recent Vampire Weekend or like the old school Vampire Weekend?
2013.
Hmm.
It's on Modern Vampires of the City, but the way that they use reverb in this as a character, and the contrast between voices, it's wild. But listening to the space and all of the instruments and the vocals and the way that everything is, in a way, like they intended to make every instrument sound like it was in a different space, but in a way that is that works really. It just works so well, and it's just such a weird, so much weird contrast in the depth that I really appreciate.
Love it. That's great.
Yeah. So stereo field, Ben.
Really, this is challenging. To choose one song.
Yes.
Ah,
And I would argue that it would be unfair to pick a song that's already on the list, because we don't want to have a playlist for our loyal listeners that just has the same song like 4 times.
stereo field.
We torture ourselves for the enjoyment of the listener.
I don't know if I have anything good on the stereo field that I'm specifically listening for. Maybe this is a bit embarrassing. I'm gonna have to like go off of my list and just think about a song that I just love the panning. Maybe like a Pearl Jam song, like where there's like all those guitars super panned out. Maybe Rear View Mirror. I'm like, this is not off of actual memory, but like I'm just gonna say Rear View Mirror from Versus, because I love the way that record sounds, and there's so many guitars and they're panned in all kinds of different ways. So that's my answer, and it might be a wrong answer.
There are no wrong answers. I mean, that was a wrong answer, but no, I'm kidding.
Other than that, there are no
Other than
wrong.
that, there are only wrong engineers. No,
Right, that's true.
um,
Well, I think I know the answer to your stereo field question because you already mentioned it, but I'll ask you anyways.
is "About to Die" by Dirty Projectors. Easy,
Wonderful.
like no question for me. Um, Dynamic range.
Oh man, well, Paranoid Android would be a great answer, but it's already been said. Make range. I think Zanny by Billie Eilish. It's just got crazy. It's got a crazy dynamic range, and like a lot of the stuff off that record is just like really soft and then really loud. So I think that whole record is probably a great answer to that question. But specifically, Zanny will be my answer.
Okay, that's a good one.
And how about you?
The Greatest Bastard by Damien Rice.
Oh, I haven't
I
heard
think
that song.
would be
I've heard
mine.
of Damien Rice.
I think because there's so much, I don't know, there's so much emotion and like brokenness in the song, and then when it gets when it gets big, it just feels like there's so much aggression and heartbreak, but like in a not an aggression in a metal way, but just aggression in this like the emotions are trying so hard. No, the speakers are trying so hard to keep the emotions from physically assaulting you. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of the feeling I get from that song. And
Wow.
my friend Tim Wolf got me onto that song a couple years ago, and I never really listened to Damien Rice before that, and we listened to it, and it is, yeah, it's an experience.
I love that. I can't wait to
Yeah,
hear it. I can't wait to hear this whole playlist. Learn all of
yeah,
Carl's funky music taste.
yeah.
It's going to be
What
good.
about yeah? I hope so. No promises. Uh, okay, I think they're good. Okay, transients.
Uh, Transients. I'm going to say Get Lucky by Daft Punk because it's just got like that fat kick and but like punchy kick and like all the staccato kind of guitars, funk guitars. The Nile Rodgers stuff. I think there's some good transients in there. I'm gonna go ahead and just say that.
Okay, that's fair. Um,
How about you?
I think probably something by Lorna Shore, actually. Maybe To the Hellfire by Lorna Shore, only because it's somehow so aggressive, so loud, but yet the transients are so distinct that it's something that really hurts my brain how it can be all of those things at once. And the song, it's deathcore. Like it's like definitely way different than, you know, uh
It's
Damien Rice.
Yeah, it's the totally
So,
opposite end of the spectrum.
um, but I think that's
I like
one.
how
Yeah,
varied you are though. Like it's your I feel like your musical tastes are just super it's just super wide open, So that's dope.
yeah, I don't know. I think I just I've always found joy in finding something about music that I don't know to enjoy about it, and I think that just it leads me into enjoying a lot of stuff that I find. I don't know.
Great.
I don't know. I like a lot of music. Maybe I'm just not as picky as most people. I don't know. I
No,
don't know.
I don't think so.
I
I mean,
love it.
yeah, it's great.
So real fast, I'm gonna name a couple instruments, and I want you to just rapid fire give me your reference mix. Okay,
Oh boy.
acoustic guitar, acoustic guitar.
Oh, so Casimir Pulaski Day by Sufjan Stevens. Just the it's not a perfect guitar, but it's a perfect guitar. And it just if I'm listening to that, it could kind of center me of like how to EQ an acoustic and just make it sound and feel good. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you?
Is it Never Going Back? Yeah. I always forget the name of the song. Never Going Back Again by Fleetwood Mac.
Great. Love that.
Electric guitar,
November Rain, Guns N' Roses.
Monkey Wrench by the Foo Fighters.
Awesome. Drums.
Oh, real drums
Any drums,
or
any drums, all drums.
oh, that is mean. That is the
You can
meanest.
only choose one.
You used vultures already. That's just not okay.
But I didn't actually say it in the list. We talked about it, but we didn't actually use it as a song. Vulture's a great example.
Well then, okay. Well then, vultures. I'm stealing your answer.
Damn it. Well,
What about you?
I'm gonna say Dreams, Fleetwood Mac.
Vocals.
I'm gonna just say
I
like
kn-
Adele.
no. I was literally about to say I don't care what you say, just hope that you don't pick my answer.
um, and let's just say someone like you. I don't know. Let's just go classic. Classic.
Okay. Okay, then
Fuck
I'm gonna say
Carl.
hello. I'm gonna say hello then.
Great.
Because I as soon as you said Adele, I was like,
Obviously Lionel
shit.
Richie. You know.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So yeah. So two Adele songs
I'm
back to
so
back.
sorry. I'm so sorry. I stole it from you.
Okay. So Mr. Bassman, bass
There can't be
could be.
no.
Oh yeah.
There can't just be one bass song.
Oh yeah. It can because you maybe pick one. You maybe pick between including drums, like electronic drums and live
Oh yeah.
drums and programming.
The Beatles. Something.
Mine would be. Oh, I would say. What's the Use by Mac Miller.
Cool. This is like the
Okay.
one that was on the Tiny Desk with Thundercat.
Ooh, was it?
I don't know. I think it was.
Maybe. It sounds like a Thundercat bass line, so maybe it was.
He's great. Amazing.
Okay. Last one. What about your wow factor mix? The song that you just want to listen to, not necessarily for anything in particular, but just because you love listening to it or because you love showing it to people.
Yeah. I this is kind of my wow factor idea, but I don't know if it's like I don't know if I love showing it to people, but I just think it's a great sounding rock song. Feel It Still by Portugal the Man. It's
Okay.
just like a very cool song. It sounds great. It's fun. The song is good. Everything's good. I don't know. It's just like a
Yeah,
good vibe. Good times.
totally fair.
You?
Mine would be Country Rhythm by Hall. It is just the nastiest, weirdest, noisiest electronic thing, and it's wonderfully gurgly, and it's fantastic, and I love it. And it's one that I was showing my mastering class at the college back in the fall. I was showing them like some critical listening songs, and I remember the first time I played that song for them, and they didn't know what to do when they were just so confused by the song. And when I can confuse somebody with music, I'm a very happy camper.
So this artist is called Hall.
HOL with an exclamation point.
Oh, cool. I'm definitely gonna check it out.
Yes. So I know I have to admit something to you, Ben. I lied to you.
No. About what?
I lied to you and told you that was the last category.
Oh, but there's an extra surprise category?
Which of your own mixes do you
Oh,
pull up? Because if there's going to be something you're really familiar with, it's going to be a song that you worked on.
yeah, that is true.
And I apologize in advance for making you put your own song so close to Adele in a playlist.
Oh yeah, this is just embarrassing. I would say that there's a song I worked on a couple years ago called "Just Ashamed" by an artist named Mira that I think just sounds great. So I'll go with that. I'm happy
Okay.
with that mix. But
Yeah.
there's other ones that are just like I don't know. There's other ones that I don't they're not that are maybe better, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure about it. Okay, yeah,
Well,
go
you already named one, so
go.
you're
How
stuck with
about
that
you?
answer. I think mine would be Nightlife by Honestly. So I think that's the one for me that it has depth, it has interesting stereo field, it has all of the I don't know, it has all of it
Good
for me.
vocals.
Great vocals. Eric's such a phenomenal singer, made it very easy for me. And like I also got to do all of like the drum production on that too, so I know like I'm happy with the drums. So I think that's the one.
Shout
Yeah,
out to our artists.
yeah.
How about
So
that?
yeah. So we will put those on the playlist. Please don't listen to our music directly after Adele or
Yeah, just
Radiohead
yeah, please.
or the Beatles.
Or the Beatles. Yeah.
But we gotta put ourselves out there.
We got to start. Well, and we're doing what we can. We're doing good, honest work, right?
Exactly.
Honestly.
Well, I mean, honestly, and also I did just admit to lying to you about not having any more categories. So I guess you're the one doing the honest work.
You're a liar, Carl. Wasn't ready to put myself out there with Adele.
Well, too bad, Ben.
It's not. I like how we both.
Yeah,
I just love that we both had Adele as like best vocal.
I mean, duh.
Yeah, it just makes sense. It's just like, okay, like who else are you gonna choose, right? Like,
Yeah. I mean, we should maybe not in real life, but I wish there was a parallel universe, like in like in the multiverse, where we made a playlist of all the songs that we listen to that are bad examples. Like, what's the song with terrible low end? What's the song with terrible top end? What's the song with really terrible all that? Like almost like a what not to listen to.
yeah, and it would be some random grunge bands from like the '90s or the '80s, or
Yeah.
some.
Or maybe in that parallel universe, Adele would be considered terrible. I don't think that's true. I don't think there's any parallel universe
Yeah,
that Adele wouldn't be loved.
yeah. I like that. Anyways, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, Adele's
Sorry.
no. But I'm just like, there's definitely good overlap for both of us. Like, there's definitely some Radiohead and some John Mayer and some Adele overlap there, where we both kind of feel like this is benchmark. Fleetwood Mac is also another band that we're both are both referencing. So it's good to know we're in good company, or
Yeah.
it's good to know I'm in good company with you, Carl. So
Yeah, and I would say I'm glad we're in. I'm just always glad to be in your company.
aw,
Just in general, I love talking to you, Ben,
this
and
is
I
good.
appreciate you asking me to be part of this podcast in the first place.
Yeah.
I feel like I should tell you thank you like every time I talk to you, and
You
I
don't
don't.
have to. Thank
I
you
know,
for
but
joining me. This
of
that
course, but I
like
want to.
like I don't know if I could have continued the podcast by myself. So it was necessary. You helped me save the podcast from destruction. So thank you, Carl.
That sounds probably a lot more dramatic than it actually is.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's rooted in trauma, but we
Yeah.
won't go there.
But you know where we will go? We will go to, I don't know, that transition almost worked. We're going to say, if you, the listener, have any songs that you love to listen to for your mixed references, please let us know. It would be actually really interesting for us to maybe make a listener submitted playlist of,
Let's do both. Yeah.
yeah, like mixed references.
Love it. We didn't talk about like why we have mixed preference, like these mixes, but I think it's obvious. I don't think we have to get into that.
Yeah, if anybody's listened this far
They
and
know. They know.
they didn't pick up on that, yeah. I feel like nobody's going to listen to this podcast that doesn't know why.
Yeah. All right. Cool. So we're good.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
Awesome.
we're good.
This is fun.
Ben, you're wonderful. I'm so
What?
glad to see your face. I've missed you over the past couple weeks, and I am looking forward to continuing to see the mensch on my computer screen.
Yes. Same. Likewise.
Did I use that properly?
You perfect. Perfect. Yes.
I'm learning.
Couple of menches. We're gonna
Couple of
rebrand.
menches.
Rebrand as couple of menches.
On that note, I hope you have a wonderful day.
You too. But you have to say goodbye to me though.
I can't. I don't want to. I don't want to say goodbye.
We could keep
What I really
talking
don't-
after you.
I know. I just really don't want to say bye, Ben.
Bye, Carl.